ends up just distracting me more. Yeah. Good afternoon. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Impact Wednesday afternoon. You all are here in the international track. Hopefully that's where you meant to be. We have a really exciting afternoon scheduled for you. We have two sessions, one on youth engagement, youth leadership, and then the second one to round out the day on digital technologies to meet member needs. So what we're going to do is we have a really exciting panel of actual real life young leaders in their respective fields and cooperative sectors, and a great discussion set up. And after that, we will move into, since we know it's after lunch, hopefully you enjoyed lunch, but we know you get a little sluggish after lunch. So we'll have the opportunity to get up and move around and interact with our speakers, dive deeper into some of these sectors that they are here representing, and the issues around youth engagement, opportunities, barriers, all of that. So before we get started, many of you have probably heard this buzz around the FEMA SMS testing that they're doing, and our phones could go crazy in about 40 minutes to 20. So if you would please turn off or silence your phones, we would really appreciate it. I know that goes against everything around use the Hoover app and engage and take pictures and do all these, which is great. And we should have a little bit of time for that. But if you could also just remember to silence them, that would be wonderful. And so with that, we will get started. And I'm Virginia Brown. I'm with NCBA CLUSA. I've got my co-host here, Luann Werner from OCDC. So we're happy that you're with us this afternoon. We know you had different options. So we'll get started. I would like to introduce Ana Aguirre. She is the founder of Tazebaez Worker Cooperative in Spain, and she's also the head of ICA's Youth Committee. So without further ado, Anna, take it away. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead if you want.
I hate standing behind a podium because I'm very short. This is always a problem. So I'm so happy to be here surrounded by these younger youth, younger than me, which is always great because we are going to talk also about the how youth engages with co-ops, but not necessarily only youth. We're also going to talk about sectors and impact, because I always think that when people put youth in a stage, they only want them to talk about youth, and it will be like talking with 55-year-olds only about retirement. So the world would be much better. I'm just kidding. Anyway, we are going to have our phones turned off, so it's going to be no proof that what happened in this room, which is both great and questionable. And also the idea of, like, did it happen? Like, do you know when if a tree fell in the middle of the forest and no one heard it, did it happen? Well, this is what's going to happen in this room, so I'm actually super excited. I am not going to introduce our panelists. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So one by one, from here to there, I'm just going to give you microphones and you present yourself. So welcome, and let's give it away. François.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here today. My name is François Hastir. I'm from Quebec, Canada, French speaker, in case you haven't noticed. I'm the chair of a federation of school-based consumer co-ops. We have around 50 co-ops generating around 100 million US in revenues every year, having bookstores, cafeterias, other services as well. And one particularity, of course, is that we're in colleges, university, and a little bit of a high school. So most of our board members are students, others being faculty, staff member. We also do have external member. And on a personal note, I've been involved in the cooperative sector for now 13 years in different sectors. So I'm really happy to be here with you today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jay-vee Pangan. You could call me V. I'm originally from the Philippines. I am the board secretary and co-founder of Youth Connect. Oh, I forgot the cooperative name. Youth Connect Cooperative, which is based also in the Philippines. And our main business lines are providing platforms or helping digital, online, and hybrid events, and doing AVPs and modernizing museums in the Philippines.
Hello everyone, my name is Kiran Kattel and I'm from Nepal. I work in a cooperative there. It's a multi-purpose cooperative named Nepal Multipurpose Cooperative, and my designation is I'm an employee there as an international relationship officer, plus I'm also assisting the corporate human resource department. I'm also one of the youth member of International Cooperative Alliance on Youth Cooperation on Asia Pacific region. So thank you for having me here in your country because it's my first time in DC and US. Yes, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Timothy Bisakaya. I am the president of Africa Cooperative Consortium. This is a startup cooperative development think tank, which was started in 2019. And we are looking at issues of cooperative research, cooperative policy, capacity development, especially for the youth cooperatives, but also looking at the historical challenges facing cooperatives in Africa. On a normal day, I work with cooperatives, actually, as an educator, as a consultant, and as a researcher. I teach at the Cooperative University of Kenya, and I'm also a cooperative entrepreneur. When we hear about the word cooperative in the global south, we are told it is a movement for the poor. So with a lot of curiosity, with my colleague at the university, we wanted to see where are we supposed to be. Are we supposed to be poor or we follow the employment track? So we've started a consulting firm, Coopsco Limited, to simply look at how we can help remote cooperative, in terms of their processes, their structures, their internal systems, and of course the normal, obviously, the issue of integrity in those particular remote cooperatives in the rural parts of Kenya. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Remy Rodriguez Chardon. I am from Puerto Rico, and I am part of the founding members and board member for Pro Café. It's a coffee farmer group in Puerto Rico, obviously. And we are now working in partnership with NCBA CLUSA, in partnership with USDA, in a partnership for climate smart commodities. And we are working now in a new project. We are basically starting off. And a little bit of Pro Café. We are a coffee farmer, basically an association. We're not technically a co-op, but we follow co-op guidelines. And I'm a little nervous, sorry. And we have over 500 members, and we basically provide, we don't, as a group, we don't compete with our own members. Every member is just part of the team, and we provide services for the farmers and their community. Basically, assistance, technical assistance in the farms, trying to get funding for them, and subsidies and incentives. And that's all.
Mix off, and I did not know. Anyway, so we have 2 rounds of questions that we're gonna go through before we start the dialogues per table. I hope that you chose the tables that you really want because those are named, and that's the no, you can change later, don't worry. You're not committed. Okay, so let's start right away. You don't see me, but I am funny. So my first question is, what made cooperatives attractive for each of you, and how do you feel that youth engagement has changed or developed during your cooperative experience? And I really wanted for you to share generic thoughts on, and also specific cooperative moments that you can recall where it made you, on the one hand, choose to become a cooperative member as youth or just as a person. That always is a good thing. And then, specific cooperative moments that you say, yes, I am in the right place, or this really engages with me and what I want to do. Maybe you want to start? We do the other way around.
Let's go. Well, um, as you all obviously know, the good part of a co-op is that we are stronger together, and I like to use the analogy or the example of ants and bees. They work in colonies. They are very social. Everyone has a role, and that's how they survive and adapt to the environment. And also, I like to use the example of a canoe or a kayak. Everyone rowing in the same direction. You get the boat moving, and you get the ball rolling, and it's better for everybody. The part in the youth, engaging with youth. In our case, the median age for coffee producers in Puerto Rico is 61 years old. So we need to incorporate and demonstrate to younger farmers that it's possible, that it's a viable industry, and there is future there. And also, we need generational succession. So all these farms don't close or end up abandoned. And then coffee in Puerto Rico is basically the economic engine of the mountainous region. It's the major crop in the mountainous region of Puerto Rico. And through coffee, other businesses and the whole community thrives together. So more coffee farmers, more the bakery can sell more bread, the gas station sells more gas, the pharmacy has more clientele. So we it's very important to keep the younger people coming and staying in the region. And what we've been doing to attract more the youth into coffee industry, giving support with advocacy, education, and kind of like mentorship, because in Puerto Rico, our biggest support is supposed to be the local Department of Agriculture, but they are sometimes hesitant on supporting younger farmers because it's more risk. Obviously, there's more risk in funding new farmers. So that is one of our um, re- responsibilities is to try to um, get the youth give them that support that the Department of Agriculture is sometimes hesitant to do. Did that answer your question? Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Remy. And I just want to pick from where I left. I did mention that I had curiosity because I was looking at understanding the concept of why cooperatives are for the poor. And with that particular curiosity, I started looking at, and who are the poor? Because again, my father used to tell me that, nobody's poor, but you are poor in your state of the mind. So I was like, who are the poor and why are they members of cooperatives? So I was even asking my father, you are a teacher, so why are you not a member of a credit union, or rather in Kenya we call them savings and credit cooperative societies? And almost all teachers actually in the country are members of those particular, circles. So I was asking my father, why are you not a member of one? So he used to tell me, no, these are for the poor, and I want you to be a doctor. Anyway, as it has it, I did my high school. Later on, we have what you call the university's placement board. So I found myself in an undergraduate class, of cooperative business. So I went back to my father. Now I'm in the place you told me, I'm studying those particular programs that belong to the poor. So he was like, so you want to be poor? So he advised me to change that particular program and of course do something to do with finance. But I was telling him, no, I have a lot of curiosity. So, and then of course he was like, anyway, one day you will die like a rat. But again, I was like, I want to really get to know why these corps are for the poor. Later on at the university, of course, I found my friend, my lecturer, is a friend of mine up to now. I know OCDC team knows this one, Professor Nyamongo and Professor Esther Sheru. And especially Professor Esther Sheru introduced me to the world of research and world of cooperative research, working with me, mentoring me, showing me different aspects of cooperatives and all that. So I actually grew. I left the university from my undergraduate understanding what really cooperatives are. So I went back to my father and told him, by the way, co-ops are not for the poor. Then he was asking me, now you are done with your undergraduate, you need to get employed. But I was like, no, I want to go back further and start learning about why these co-ops are for the poor. So along the way, I started interacting with a fellow young, young people in the movement. And as all of us are aware, literally across Africa, the cooperative movement is for the all people. All over, the cooperative movement is for the all people across Africa. The other day, we were looking at the average age of a cooperative in Africa is around 51, 53 years, right? So especially look at the agricultural sector. So literally, there are no young people in those particular sectors. So what we are looking at is how do we then create a safe space, for the youth, right? Yes, we are giving them mentorship, and I want to appreciate special development partners on the continent, because they are giving them mentorship platform. But I think the question has been effective mentorship platforms. There is mentorship, yes, but then how do we do it effectively? Because if we organize a formal forum like this one, and you want young people to get here and to learn, we will literally say what we've heard from another person. But if we do it informally, where we are giving them a space where they can express themselves, they can air their grievances, share and learn amongst themselves, I think could be a great platform for them to, with the youth actually to partake the cooperative model in a better manner. And I think another issue which I have also found seen to be a huge problem is that we want to move. We want to move, for example, from Nepal, we want to go to Michigan here so that we can learn about how young people are doing here. But again, in our neighborhood, in Nepal, or perhaps in Kenya, there's other young people who are doing greater things in the cooperative movement. 5 years or so, I've been interacting with the young people, especially in cooperatives, and especially the startup youth corps in worker cooperative model. And I was looking at a sustainability aspect of these youth corps. How are they actually helping themselves? These are young people, some of them fresh from the universities, looking for employment. And as we all know, in Africa, unemployment, almost all countries, around 70% of the opportunities that are available. Because actually, as we believe opportunities are for our parents, and us, we are there to work. But again, they are there to collect wages or money on our behalf. But anyway, that's our conversation. But again, we are looking at how do we provide, therefore, a platform for these young people, not just actually to get mentored, but at the same time to learn and put those particular, mentorship into practice. Because again, learning is one thing, being mentored is another thing. But again, putting what you have caught into practice is actually the element that we need to really break. Yeah.
Thank you, Timothy. So to answer Anna's question, I think I will share you a story, my cooperative story, in a few minutes. Okay, so uh, I have been working in the cooperative called Nepal Multipurpose Cooperative since 8 years. But initially, I had no any intention to join a cooperative because I actually honestly did not know what cooperative is, because in our country, Nepal, we are never taught the subject cooperative in schools or colleges. Either one should be an employee or a member of a cooperative to know what a cooperative actually is. So I just wanted to gain some banking experience, because the cooperative that I'm working on it is also does also saving and credit services. So I wanted to learn some banking experience from the cooperative nearby, which is the cooperative I'm recently working for long. And then after gaining the experience, I thought I would go to some corporate or some banks and financial institutions, to be very honest. But once I began my cooperative journey, I came to know that this is not all about money. No, it's not about uh, banks and financial institutions are not devoted to the community people like cooperatives are devoted to the community members. So after learning and upgrading in the cooperatives, I came to know that no, I should not go to the profit. I should not look after the money only, but also to the cooperative. But this is the right place. The cooperative is the right place for me, because it does so many things to people, and especially when it comes to youths, like young-minded people. I saw what my cooperative has been doing to the people in the community. Like our cooperative, we go to the schools and colleges and give orientation programs regarding financial literacy programs, and we establish clubs so to develop the saving and banking habits from the initial level and also to the colleges. Also, not just for the youths, but for all sectors of the community people. Cooperatives are the cooperative I'm working on is really doing a good job. So I did not want to leave this cooperative journey, because I thought it's my right place, and I'm still doing yes. And I want to learn more in this field of cooperative, because I believe gradually that cooperation, coordination are all the things that make this world a beautiful place to live. Thank you, if that answers the question.
So hello again, everyone. I've been a teacher for 10 years, and now I'm a multimedia journalist. So I like stories. Do you like stories? I love stories. So I'm gonna tell you a very, very short story that I wrote here. So the past 5 days I've been here, I've met some co-ops, like really amazing co-ops, like a housing co-op, a dog walking co-op. Can you believe that? And a hardware co-op. And I just like I love the energy and the synergy, and like most of those co-ops that I've mentioned are run by young people, and I just really love that. That's very inspiring for me. And I'm gonna get a little bit personal. So I grew up in the slums in the Philippines, and I had no chance and no access to these co-ops. And if I had the opportunity or chance to see co-ops like this, maybe my story would have been different. And in the Philippines, the single story of co-ops is credit co-ops. That's all I know about co-ops. Co-ops equals credit co-ops, if not grocery stores. I found out that it's not just credit co-ops. So now I'm a multimedia journalist and a teacher and a cooperator. What can I do to change that so that maybe one child in the slums can have a different future? So I'm want to tell stories. And in our co-op, the Youth Connect Cooperative, we want to have as many young people as possible contributing their skills. You're a writer, come, write with us. You are a photographer, come and write. Come and take photos, take videos. You want to learn some tech tools, come and learn with us. So that's what our co-op is all about. And about youth engagement, I put up a poll on Huva. Did you see my poll? The only poll there is on Huva. But thank you for voting. There's like 20 votes. And I asked there, what is the primary challenge in attracting and retaining youth in cooperatives? And what's your number one answer? Do you remember? They don't know. Yeah, they don't know about cooperatives. Lack of awareness about cooperatives. So I think the challenge for me, at least, this is just for me because I'm a journalist and teacher. The challenge is to break out of the co-op bubble and to reverberate these stories out of our own echo chambers. Thank you.
So I wasn't going to start with that, but now that you said it, I have to start with that. So my journey in the co-op sector, so I've been involved since I was very young in all those kinds of non-for-profits, organizations at school. And when I was in college, I was also involved personally in different stuff, radio, theater, journalism, art, science. And you know, in Quebec, we're known to be the place in North America where there's co-op. I didn't know what was a co-op up to university. And we had school-based co-op in my high school and my cégep, which is the in-between between university and it's kind of a college. So I didn't know what it was. And then when I went at university, I went to the law school program. And then I was like, oh, that's nice. There's this business that lets people sit on an advisory board. That's really nice of the owner, thinking the university is the owner or something like that, you know. So I went on and got engaged, and 2 weeks after I got elected, because believe it or not, even though I didn't know what it was, and that was my speech, I got elected. God forbid. The executive director resigned. And so all of a sudden, I had to learn very quick and the very hard way what was a co-op. But it really fascinated me because as I was involved in all those different kinds of organizations, I always liked the mission, but there was something more that was missing. That was that kind of entrepreneurial, economic development side that I couldn't find that I did find in co-ops. And I think that's something really important, very interesting about co-ops that can definitely attract youth, is that we are a generation that is led by value, but we're not just that. And we don't want just that. We want something else. We want to be entrepreneurs. We want to reshape the world in our own way. We want to make things different, but from what we already know as well. And I think co-ops can speak to that. And now I don't want to go into hard politics, but I think we're also, but maybe I will. But I think we are a generation that is also, that wants to break the silos and want to work with one another. And I think that's one of the beauty of the co-ops, you know. You can be on the economic spectrum, you can be conservative and say, you know, the state shouldn't invest in different programs and different stuff. And co-ops can speak to you because they can be another alternative to government trying to finance those initiatives and trying to be in those initiatives. You can be a neoliberal or liberal and say, you know, what I want is I want the market to be free, to have that kind of healthy competition. Co-ops can speak to you to that as well, because it can be an alternative to competitive sector or sectors that have monopolies that are not enough competitive. And you can be on the social spectrum and say, you know, I want a business that speaks to my value. I want to give back to my community. Then again, co-ops can speak to you because it's part of our mandate. So I think that's something, I know it's a little bit poorly said, but I think it's something that's really interesting about co-ops, that it can really like go get people from different cultures, different spectrums, different political views, and say, you know what, we have more in common than we think, and we can work together towards a common goal, all in our various ways, just like there's various types of co-ops that does different kinds of co-ops, and there's different ways to cooperate. So that's for the first part, and quickly for the second part about like the difference that I've seen. So I started in the co-op sector, again, 13 years ago, And I remember when I was at the national level, the provincial level in Canada, there was no youth. So when you said, it was old people, in Canada too, it was very well said that it was old white men. And there's nothing wrong against old white men, but it was just that. So there was no inclusion, no diversity. And it was hard because I remember, I tried to break some silos. And I remember when I got elected on the National Olympics organization, we had our first board meeting, made a couple of comments and stuff, and people came to me after and said, "You made really good comments for a youth." It's like, okay, nice. I want to say you made pretty good comments for an old man, but I didn't say it, And the thing is, we should really stop to try to divide ourselves between, men, women, white, people of color, old, youth. At the end of the day, we all have something to bring to the table. We need every voice. And I think if there's a movement that can do it and that will do it, I think the cooperative sector can and will. And it has changed. Nowadays, I really see the difference. I don't think 12 or 13 years ago there would be that many young people or that much diversity in a meeting like the one we have right now. And I certainly don't think that there was as much youth involved in co-ops. I think, of course, the workers shortage helps a little bit with that, I think. But I think people are starting to realize, we have these businesses that we care about because a lot of the people that are still there and that have been there for 30, 40 years, they care about their co-ops. They really do. And they're starting to think, okay, I'm going to go at some point soon and I need to plan my succession. And that's the moment to have the discussion.
I always get the mic. Okay, so I think that a lot of things that what you all said resonate with a lot of people in the room because I've seen people doing yes, nodding very nicely, and I think it resonates certainly with me. I mean, to our dismay, mostly male over 50 is the cooperative world, not just any of your countries. And also the fact that we are in very little bubbles sometimes, when we understand what is our cooperative reality. I come from the Basque Country, and when I went to Europe the first time, I thought that all the co-ops were worker-owned. And then people were like, no, hardly any. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, great. So I think that, but what I think your stories show is that when young people are exposed to the cooperative model, they are engaged and hooked by the cooperative model. So I sometimes hear all the time, it is very hard to engage the youth with the cooperative model because the values, because they are individualistic, because blah, blah, blah. And I know it's very easy to preach in a room that already believes, so I'm not even going to try to do that because I know you are all here because you believe. But I think that when someone asked in the plenary, what is the 3 wishes that you will make if you had a magic wand, the first one I thought of was acknowledgements by the society, because I thought the more people I know that will engage, I'm not even questioning that thing. And the one bad thing that we have as cooperatives is I think the capacity of marketing. We are not very good at it nowhere in the world. So I know that when people are exposed to the model, people believe more and more. And then representativity and seeing all of you here and seeing this room full of people is great. I would really like to have seen more old people also coming in this room because it's almost all the youth, right? So if I ask how many of you are over 50, there's going to be very few hands. That will be reciprocal when we go into the other room and you ask how many of you are under 30. So I think that when we talk youth, sometimes it's just the youth coming, and I wish the cooperative model was also more coherent and really walk the talk when we talk. We want multi-generation. But before I ask another question, because we're almost running out of time, so before I ask something that I prepared, maybe someone in the audience wants to ask something to these wonderful people. And I think we will have 1 question or maybe 2 questions because I don't want to run over time and steal discussion time that is the most interesting thing than just us here. So I don't know if there's anyone, and if not, I'll just let them go. But maybe someone wants to ask or comment or share or not. Not? It is. What you want to do is talk, eh? Okay, so yes, there is. No? Perfect. Someone? Yes? No? Okay. No, you don't feel forced. We're not forcing anyone here.
I figured one of the gray-haired people in the room should ask a question. In a lot of the project work I do internationally, I ask the cooperative leaders, is this a business you would like to see your children assume? Typically in agriculture. And half of them, the women will typically say, no, I'd like them to go get an education, and then if they want to come back in some technical aspect of their cooperative, yes. The fathers have all said, of course I want my sons to succeed them. But one of the questions I have for everybody is, in your cooperative, how many of your boards of directors have...
There you go. That's what happens.
Yeah. How many of you have a youth member on the board of directors? Your entire board. Anybody else? This would be a great first step in terms of learning board skills, learning about businesses, and then encouraging youth to get involved. And just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you so much. Yes, you.
Just add something quickly to that. I think you're totally right. And when I talk about school-based co-op, that is also our reality. I'd say, depending on the boards, my God, depending on the boards, I would say it's about 2/3 of the boards that are students usually. And we have to have students. So what's interesting is that often we kind of act as a learning ground for those people that are in their first experience as a board member, first experience in the co-op sector. But the more I got involved, the more I realized that, it's not that different from other boards, aside from the fact that there might be a little more of like a turnaround of board members. But in other co-ops, you can have housing co-ops and somebody could be 50, 60, but it's still their first experience in the co-op sector and it's still their first experience on a board. So I think the challenges are very similar when we think about it. There are some differences, but in terms of like education and board training, I think it's very similar whether we talk to youth or non-youth.
Okay. And also, just I think it's very cool that I was talking to the talk about disruption. So no, when I was a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to the director of Laboral Cucha at the Bank of Mondragon, and he was saying one of the things that we are super good at in cooperatives is legacy, because we are structurally one of the only company models that looks at legacy as part of the company, right? So we are not in Mondragon or in Laboral Cucha, we are no longer calling ourselves cooperative owners, but temporary owners of the cooperative, because we want to highlight the fact that our mission to inherit something, because we are not entrepreneurs, because we entrepreneuried nothing, we inherited a very well-running bank, and our legacy is not only inherited, but actually leave it better. So we are just temporary owners of this thing. And I think that this speaks very well to the cooperative model, right? Because as cooperators, we want to create something that goes not only for us, but beyond our thing. But I'm going to speak no longer. In your tables, you have papers that say names. For example, youth leadership in global co-op movement, school co-ops, cooperative research, multipurpose, worker co-ops. So one in each of our speakers are going to go to their tables. I don't know which ones are you. You know where you're going. The rest of you, if you're sitting in the right table, you're good to stay. If you want to change table, now is the moment. You cannot leave later. And we're going to start at maybe 20-minute dialogue, and then they will come back to share a little bit of the conversation and do some closing remarks. Is it good? Everyone's clear? Agriculture and climate at the corner, leadership in the youth global cooperative thingy, schools, and worker co-ops, and multipurpose, and cooperative research over here.
I got the alert. I'm not even.
So I'm gonna cut the conversation short, I think. Sorry. What do we got? All right. This table's the loudest, so I'm going to have them start first. We have about 10 minutes left, so we'd just like to hear a couple of highlights from what you discussed at all of your tables. It sounds like there was really great conversation. So we'll start here at this table that talked about youth leadership in the global cooperative movement.
Thanks, everyone. So just very quickly for our group, we had a lot of really great conversation. One of the first pieces that we talked about were, what are the challenges to youth engagement in the sector? And, a lot of the conversations global, the youth leadership in the global co-op movement. Thanks, Kathy. And so we really talked about, as the panel mentioned earlier, this lack of awareness and understanding and how we can really work to bridge the gap in a lot of those different pieces and make sure that we're understanding that youth and even the definition of what youth is, it can be, very, very different. Even if you look at how we define youth on the global scale, which is under 35, there are multiple generations, millennials, Gen Z, Gen X, that exist within that age range. And so understanding the different platforms, how we can reach these audiences in more specified and targeted ways, but really kind of also focusing on the model piece we thought was really important as well. In terms of what are some of the things that we felt were the best practices and opportunities in the sector, in the global sector, we really wanted to focus on how we can leverage a lot of the opportunities and platforms that are already existing. So with, the ICA Youth Network, that is, a platform and a space that has been created because oftentimes we can feel like we need to reinvent the wheel, we need to create another program. But the big challenge is in a co-op marketing and communication standpoint is, are we kind of communicating that same message about the movement, and are we leading people in the right direction towards these platforms and opportunities that can exist? So I think that this is just the start and the tipping point of the conversation, and really just wanting to have that commitment, from everyone really on how we can advance and make sure that youth of all ages, of all backgrounds, no matter where you're located in the world, know that they have a meaningful seat at the table in our sectors.
Thank you, Solandy. That was beautiful. We'll go back here to the agriculture and climate table.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jasmine, and I'm going to try to share with you the discussion about agriculture and climate. So we tried to answer two questions. The first one was about what are the challenges to youth engagement in the sector. And most of the answer was about the perception that people have about agriculture. And this perception is also about how youth see agriculture, how they think that agriculture is not a profitable business. It's not something they can involve in because it's not profitable for them. This is a perception, but it's also a reality. So how can we act to change this kind of perception? And then we also have the migration. We have a lot of youth people leaving the country because of lack of opportunities. So migration is also a big challenge for agriculture and climate. And we also have the lack of access of tools, skills, and mechanization in agriculture. Because the youth, that's exactly why I said it can be a perception that agriculture is not profitable, but the reality is also that in some countries, I'm gonna take, for example, my country, where I'm from Haiti. the lack of tools of mechanization is something that youth are afraid of. They don't feel like they're gonna make all this effort that the parents, grandparents was doing to do production. So this lack make them afraid of involved in this field, agriculture. And yes, climate change. Today we know that talking about agriculture, it's not profitable, yes, but we also know that the climate change has a lot to, is a lot, because we know that now there's a lot of change, everything changed, because the agriculture, they now like lost, because they don't know what is happening. The future is not clear about agriculture based on climate change. So it's one of the challenges that youth are facing, and they are afraid of involving in this field. But there is also opportunities. We also share some opportunities that can help with these challenges. We think that digitalization is one of the sector we can involve with that can make youth in participating more in agriculture. And we have some projects that encouraging that. So, and I think that it's one of the things that can help youth integrate more agricultural field. We also have cooperative. The co-op is one of the sector that can help youth integrate. And what we think about is that we have co-op that can provide services. This lack of tools of mechanization. Now we have co-op that can work and provide services in mechanization that can help people involved more in the agricultural field. And then we also have access to funding, which is one of the opportunity that we also discuss about it. And I don't know if there's something that I forgot that you would like to add. We good?
We've got 4 more tables here. So next we're going to our school co-ops table. François.
I'll be very quick. I think some of the challenges that were said before also applies to school-based co-ops or co-ops in school, and we also talked about the cooperative movement and its place in the curriculum of school. So it's hard first to make it real enough to really engage and put the efforts into it, because there's a huge turnover. So people are saying, you know, I'm here for a year, 2 years, what can I really accomplish? So that's definitely a limitation. There's a big gap of knowledge as well. So co-ops are not taught in school, and when they are, often the programs are at the end of the curriculum of the school. So people are at the end of their schooling, and they're already kind of set in what they want to do and where they want to go. The schools have tight budgets. That's also a huge issue. Too many students and set curriculums. And teachers need to be educated about co-op too, and that's one of the main issues, is that teachers don't necessarily even know about co-ops. There's no cultural government appetite or interest for co-ops, especially in schools, and there's a lot of competition to attract youth. Social media is very huge with that generation, so there's a lot of opportunity to engage with the social medias, but also in person at the school. If you bring it to the school, it plants the seed. You can make cooperators look cool and attracting to youth as well, because they see them in their school. You can create opportunity for youth employment. You can get the word out for youth, and then they can also, after, get involved and then get the word out to their parents or into adulthood. And it can sparkle the desire for empowerment, and you can have some visibility just like any other club. Sometimes not, depending on the institution, but sometimes you can. And one last thing is that we can focus on the message that we are running it, and that speaks to youth.
Okay. Next one will be cooperative research. Who's going to present? Okay.
Right, thank you. And we are handling a complicated area that captures all the problems, from all the tables. And of course, one of them that we all agreed is a common challenge for research is that research is usually capital intensive, right? So we may want the key issue is there access for funding for youth cooperative research, all right? And another problem was the issue of academic bias, right? Because you look at many young people, they are either undergraduate students or master's students, or rather maybe middle careers, or perhaps those who have just finished their PhDs or starting their postdoctorals and all that. So the question again of academic bias, and also access to funding is a common challenge for research across board. And the issue of experience, right? The issue of experience, again, is also a common challenge for research. And the youth in cooperative research are not left out. Because again, when you look at many cooperative research programs that are out there, they will send a TOR, right? That TOR does not define, they define an expert who they want, 20 years, 25 years, right? Now, a young person at 24 years just come out of an undergraduate program, they won't mention there that they are looking for a data collector, for example, or enumerators in that case. So again, what we are saying is the issue of experience also a huge challenge. But one of the best practice on this step, what we simply said one thing, that we need to make cooperative research sexy for the youth. That how do we make, when we make cooperative research sexy for the youth, we are going to make even the cooperative movement more sexier for the youth. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to worker co-ops.
All right. Well, hello. Yeah, so we had a big discussion. There's a lot of topics that we tried to cover. Some of the biggest struggles we seem to kind of come back to were many people having interest but not necessarily having the experience or education, trying to figure out ways to partner with universities to gain some of that knowledge and education. Another problem was the capital side of it, especially in the application of having the younger generation and then the older generation, where the younger generation might not have the capital, but the older generation does. So trying to figure out a way to kind of span that barrier there. And then the transition of control from the older generation to the youth, along with the sustainable practices of that cooperative leadership. And another one was the building kind of a cooperative mindset from a very early age within the family, within the household, in your community, kind of encouraging the youth from day one when they're born, and just kind of showing them and modeling it within the household, so that as they grow it becomes kind of a natural mindset, a heart posture to want to continue that cooperativism as they grow up and get into the workforce and just naturally be part of the workforce. So.
And we'll end with the multi-purpose.
You get to listen to me again. We had just several examples of different multi-purpose cooperatives. We heard more about Kiran's cooperative in Nepal, but so one of our big takeaways was just the ability of multi-purpose cooperatives to meet all different kinds of member needs, because you can work in different sectors, different lines of business. For example, Kiran talked more about, it started as a savings and credit cooperative, but also incorporated dairy production and marketing, and a department store, grocery items, And then most recently started to diversify into tea production and marketing for some of their farmers, where they saw some of their members who are tea farmers and saw a huge need there. So just the ability of multi-purpose co-ops to really, you know, tackle so many different types of member needs and provide that solution. And then from maybe young people's perspective, like that longing for, you know, just solidarity in general, and the ability of a lot of these cooperatives to be there for each other and to brainstorm and tackle things together. So just that sense of community and solidarity that's drawn younger people to cooperatives, and in our case that we were discussing multi-purpose cooperatives. But with that, Anna, you had one last word before we close this session?
Thank you. No, I'm going to be longer than that. No, I wanted to have everyone wrap up, but we don't have time for that. So I just wanted to thank everyone for the contributions. I think we have a lot to think about, food for thought, ideas and initiatives to look into. From my side, as moderator, this has been a pleasure seeing so many familiar and unfamiliar faces, and sharing from different perspectives is fantastic, is exactly what we need at the local level, but also at the global level. I kept some emails, and I made a promise in this table, so I think you will be hearing from a lot of us again and be representative in many other circles. So I just wanted to wrap up and say thank you, congratulations. I'm sure I always say it, but I think that the best times of the cooperative model is just yet to come and ours to make. So congratulations, off you go. Thanks for the contribution, and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you, Anna. Thanks to all our speakers. So we have about a 15-minute break now. We'll convene again at 3:15. Our last session of the day is how we're leveraging digital technologies in different sectors to meet member needs. We have some really exciting lightning presentations and some more group discussions going on. So we hope you come back for our next session. Thank you.